Welcome to Kumba Software DPAA tutorials. This tutorial is about how to save objects as another name or under another name. So be sure to set your video playback to high definition. And though some visual details of DPAA may have changed since this video was created, the functionality will be the same. So what we have is we have DPAA already running. We have a couple of appliances selected. I have a couple of domains selected to make a point, and then I have a couple of object types selected. Now, if you haven't seen the other videos, you can control command click or shift click in any one of these lists and anywhere in DPAA to select things. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start out with something relatively simple. I'm going to take a logging target, and to prove it can be done in more than one domain at a time, or more than one appliance at a time, I'm going to select this logging target, and I'm going to select the same logging target in both appliances. Generally speaking, we believe that if you're doing things in one appliance, unless you're in just raw development mode, you'll want to do it in the other. So to get the menu to come up, you go over to the hamburger menu over here, select the hamburger menu, and then you can select Save As. What Save As is going to do is bring us up a wizard that basically just allows us to create the new name that we want to save it for. So we've got the appliance, we've got the domain, we've got the object type, we've got the object name, and then we have a new name. I can't edit any of these fields but this one. So if I want to name this something, to make it obvious, I'm going to type in the new name of the object, and then I can hit enter or whatever. Now what's interesting here is that this one changed also, and that's because of this box called synchronized changes. If I didn't have that on, then I would have to manually change each one of these one at a time, which may be what you desire. So you do have the power to turn that off, and then when you create the new name for one, you can create a new name for the other. But then you'd have a fork, right? These two appliances would not have the same object name, even though they would both have a new object. I'm going to go ahead and select Finish. And then what it's done is it's going through there, it creates the new object, and the new object is going to be identical. I guess I should have put a G here so we can see it. Oh. Something typed incorrectly, apologize. So we can see the new object. We can see we have a new object here that's identical to this object here. They are identical in every way in terms of their configurations, except for this one now has a new name. If I were to select something a little bit more sophisticated like a load balancer group, likewise I can pull up the menu by selecting the right mouse button, and I can select Save As. In the same way that we could do before, we can select the name and we can give it a new name. Again, I'll just give it Godzilla, so we have all new ones. And then I'm going ahead and select Finish. And then what's going to happen is going to do the same thing it did before. It's going to create the list. It's going to create the new object, and then it's going to automatically recycle it. And so see, now you see I have a load balancer group that's named Godzilla, and I have a load balancer group that's named Tango. Now one thing interesting to look at here is I'm going to pull these objects up so we can see them side by side, and what you'll notice is every one of them is somewhat configured identical to the other ones. So what we have is when we save the Godzilla ones, we saved them exactly like we did the previous one. And so what happens is the Godzilla on Dev 2 and the old Tango Service Load Balancer group on Dev 2 are identical. And then the Load Balancer group on Dev 1 that's called Tango Service, the original, and the new one are identical. Now you may be looking at this row, and if you've seen some of the other videos, you'll know that color coding indicates that there's a difference somewhere in these objects, but there's not going to be a difference between these two objects, and there's not going to be a difference between those two objects. Whatever difference existed prior to the onset of the Save As. And one of the other things to keep in mind is your members will be identical as well from the source object that you created. So in this case, it saves everything all the way through. And one other thing to note, and I'm not going to do it, but I just want to point out that if you save something very sophisticated like a multi-protocol gateway, which you can do, what you need to understand is all of these source protocol handlers, all of the XML managers, all of the XML manager, the user agent, the source protocol handlers, all of the referenced objects will be the same objects as referenced by the source. You're only creating the raw or the top level object under a new name. You're not creating everything under it under a new name. It's not like a deep cut, and it's not like a deep save as and refactor. It is just, we're saving this object under a new name so we can work with it. So if you're dealing with a service, keep in mind, once that service is saved, you could be running into a problem of taking your main service down because now you have a port conflict. In our experience, normally it's the new one that's down when it comes back up, but be aware that could happen, and we just want to bring it to your attention. If you have any other questions, comments, or suggestions, go out to www.kumbasoft.com. You can go to the Contact Us page there and put in your question or suggestion or request a license, or you can go to the Features and Tutorials page and see all the tutorials we have for the product on our website. Thanks for watching, and have a nice day.